The fifth name in the Chronicles took us to Lagos in Nigeria, a city of 20 million when the world went dark, to learn how a city that deep and that crowded survived on nothing but its own rooftops and the water below. There is a district here where houses stand on stilts over the water and towers rise behind them. During the war, the two became one thing, a city stacked on a city, a second Lagos built in the air above the reach of the dead. We found Tunde Bakare on a rooftop where he still spends most of his days. He was a structural engineer, a man who built towers up. During the war, he did the opposite. He taught a district of 40,000 people to take the ground away from underneath themselves. He is 68, quick and dry and precise. He told us he would give us the engineering, not the emotion. The emotion you can supply yourself. Everyone can. The engineering is the part people forget. And the engineering kept 40,000 people alive. It reached Lagos the way everything reaches Lagos. On the expressways, in the markets, where 20 million people breathe on each other all day. The city knew before any announcement, the way a market knows a price. And the panic ran ahead of the knowing. In a city of towers, the first question is up or down. The answer always is up. The ground floor is the killing floor. The dead come at street level, climb slowly and never tire. So you go up, take the stairs away behind you, and make the building a cliff. They dropped the lower staircases in a dozen towers that first week. Sledgehammers, a jackhammer, and one charge he set himself, because he knew where a building would take the loss and stand. A tower with no first 3 floors is a cliff, and the dead never, ever learn. But a cliff you cannot leave is a prison. So they connected the roofs, planks, ladders, scaffold poles. Within a month, you could cross half the district and never touch the earth. He load rated every span himself. He would not let anyone cross a span he had not calculated. The market women turned the roofs into farms, the part no engineer predicted and the part that saved everyone. Beans, pepper, spinach and rice sacks of soil hauled up before the stairs came down. He built the bridges, the women built the food. He is very clear about which mattered more. The lagoon was the second wall, and it cost nothing. Lagos floods. At high tide, the low streets fill, and the dead down there walk the bottom, slow as divers, drawn to noise but unable to reach a single roof. The flood that had plagued the city became the moat it always secretly had. When the tower was lost, they cut its bridges and let it go dark. He gave that order more than once. You cannot save a building, he said. You cut the bridges and you save the 40,000, the coldest arithmetic in the world, done with his own hands. He does not pretend he was wrong. Skin was the passport. Every morning, at every bridge, you showed your arms to cross. He wrote the rule and enforced it on himself first, publicly, at the main bridge every dawn, so no one could say the engineer was above the checking. No big man is big enough to be worth a tower. The living were the harder problem. The dead were slow and predictable. The living came in boats, at night, for the farms and the water. The dead climb slowly, he said. The living climb fast, and they think. The dead were the wall we understood. The living were the war. They use sound. The dead follow noise. When a street filled too dangerously, drummers went to the east roofs and made thunder, and the dead spent all night wading toward an empty street while the district slept. He calls it acoustic redirection. Everyone else called it drumming the dead. Water was the daily war. There is no water on the roof, only rain, only what you catch. Every roof became a funnel. Every barrel ran through sand and charcoal. The engineering of a barrel, he said, saved more lives than the engineering of any bridge. They ran schools on the roofs. A child with nothing to do on a rooftop for 2 years will do something dangerous on a rooftop. So they taught reading, numbers, and his subject, how a building stands, how a barrel filters. He was raising engineers in the middle of the collapse. The rains were the other war. A storm on the roofs was worse than a raid, because a raid ends. They lashed everything down and rebuilt in the morning, every time. He engineered the bridges to flex. A bridge that fights the wind breaks. A bridge that bends with it lives. They lost people, to the fever, to the raids, to the falls. And he carries every fall, because a fall is an engineering failure, and the engineering was his. They lowered the dead by rope to a canoe and took them across the deep lagoon, past the ones walking the bottom of the same water. The district governed itself from the rooftops, a council of whoever was useful, the market women for food, the elders for disputes, the engineers for bridges and water. On a rooftop, a landlord owns a share of the same barrel as everyone else. It was the most honest Lagos has ever been. Peace brought the big men back. Peace always does. When the counter-offensive reached Lagos, they cleared it upward, street by street, floor by floor, and the rooftops came down to meet them. The strangest sight of his life was watching the water pumped out of a street he had helped flood. The wall we had leaned on for 2 years simply drained away. Coming down was harder than going up. The ground had been death for 2 years, and the mind does not unlearn that in a day. New stairs checked at every landing, and no one forced down before they were ready. You do not drop people back onto the killing floor. You lower them gently. The children who had grown up in the sky came down and would not stop looking at their own feet. He watched a boy of 6 touch the pavement with one bare foot, over and over, testing whether it would hold him. It held. The boy looked up at his mother in astonishment. That is the moment the war ended for Lagos. The first thing they did with peace was hold a wedding on the roof, where everyone still felt safe, and because the roof was theirs, full drums, full color, the whole district dancing in the air. He danced, he admitted, and has not since. He wanted us to write that down. He danced. Some of the engineering stayed. The rooftop farms did not come down. A city that learned to grow food on its roofs does not unlearn it. Lagos is greener now in the air than it has ever been. The bridges came down, but the garden stayed and the barrels stayed. They teach the upstairs years at the university now, and he teaches the class himself. Load-bearing under siege, water catchment at scale. The students find it thrilling, a puzzle, elegant solutions, and he lets them. A thing that becomes a case study has stopped being a wound. His maps are in the museum. The whole bridge network, drawn by hand, every load noted in his small, precise print. School children trace the spans with their fingers, and he listens sometimes, unseen, to his worst 2 years becoming a wonder. A map that becomes a wonder, he said, did its job. One bridge they never took down. It hangs between 2 towers still, load-rated one last time by him personally. Let them walk the span, he said, and feel the height, and understand that 40,000 people cross bridges like this one, in the dark, in the rain, for 2 years. The children run it for fun now, out over the drop that once meant death. He remembers carrying a sick woman across a span exactly like it, in a storm, at night. The 2 images live in the same frame. The terror bought the laughter, he said. Hold both, and do not pretend the laughter came free. We asked whether he is a hero. A hero, he said, is the person on the wall. I was the person who made sure the wall was standing when the heroes arrived. Different jobs. Mine has no songs. Mine is barrels, and load ratings, and checking my own sleeve at dawn. But without mine, the heroes have no wall. Everything he did in the war, he had trained 30 years to do. He knew where a building would take a loss and stand. A structural engineer knows, in his bones, the difference between a thing that will hold and a thing that will kill you. In peace, that knowledge builds towers. In war, it saved 40,000 people. The war was not the dramatic nights, he said. The war was mostly barrels. The daily arithmetic of liters against mouths, of whether the dry season would break before the cisterns did. It was won by boring, relentless, precise people counting water in the dark. Remember the barrels. The barrels are always the true story. The 3 lines reached Lagos in the first year on the radio, and someone painted them on a tower. They are still there, small and weathered. Lagos used all 3 in order. First we climbed, he said, and below us the flood floated the danger away. And the first line, fight, we saved for the living, who were the only enemy worth fighting. The dead were never an enemy. The dead were a wall to climb above. He will not let the lines be repainted. Let them fade. Let the children ask. A rule in the bones is stronger than a rule on a wall. 40,000 people are alive because an engineer knew the difference between a thing that holds and a thing that kills, and taught a district to catch the rain, drop the stairs, drum the dead, and check every sleeve. Their grandchildren drink a little of the sky, and do not know, and are not meant to know. He went back down into the city, into the crowds and the noise, an ordinary old engineer among 20 million people who walk on ground he helped make safe. He wanted no more than that. To disappear back into the crowd he saved. That is the reward. Being ordinary again. The water is only water again. The deep channels are just deep channels, and the canoes come home at dusk with fish, not refugees. But he still reads the tide table every morning. High water was safety once. His body has not forgotten. His body may never forget. Go up, he said. The ground floor is the killing floor. Take the stairs away behind you. Load rate every span. Let the flood be the moat it always wanted to be. Check every sleeve, your own first, and catch the rain. The city that fears its flood drowns. The city that stands above its flood lives. In the morning, the barrels are full from the night's rain, and the market women climb up to tend the beans the way they climbed when the ground was death, except now the ground is only ground. He watches from his terrace among his own beans, precisely and measurably glad. He still checks his own sleeve at doorways that need no checking and lets the habit live. Some rules you keep for 100 years after the reason for them is dead. Those are the good rules. Those are the ones that kept anyone alive at all. We left Lagos by canoe. The city stacked green and gold behind us, and went on toward the sixth name in the frozen east, where a railway man kept a timetable across a continent. Remember the barrels, and know in your bones which thing will hold. This has been the Wanderers Chronicles. If you can fight, fight.